So you got $3 million, but the thermostat is set on 62 degrees. Why do incredible savers make horrible spenders? And if that's you, let's talk about it.
All right, grab your favorite mug. It's time for coffee with your retirement coach.
Welcome back to Coffee with Your Retirement Coach. Behind the clipboard with me today, Randy.
How you doing, Aaron?
I'm Aaron. We want to talk about people that need permission to start spending.
Yeah.
We often find that our clients that did a great job of accumulating, they were frugal, they were prudent, faithful servants. They are absolutely horrible when it comes to a spending plan.
Yeah.
The savings plan was great.
Yeah.
But there is no spending plan.
I was going to say, the thing about it is our culture creates an environment where we know that saving is a prudent thing to do. A wise person would do it.
Right.
And if you spend your entire life with the habit of savings and all of a sudden there's a calendar change and you go from saver, now you're supposed to be spender.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel very good.
Oh,
That's like you're breaking some kind of moral compass.
Yeah. We get so caught up with the pleasure of delayed gratification that it's like, oh, that's wrong.
It's like a badge of honor.
Yes. Yes.
You know it.
So before we dive into it, the first and the most important part, let's talk about the guardrails. Let's talk about the spending plan. And then we're going to talk about kind of the thinking, the feelings behind how that affects us or doesn't affect us.
Well, I think the psychology of this is that if you don't have a pretty academic approach to this, where you have confidence in what you're doing, then you may continue to live well below your means to the point where you really don't enjoy your retirement. You really don't have the things that you worked so hard. I remember going through a coaching program, and it was I wrote a paper. It's basically someday, like what my life would be like someday.
Yeah.
And then what I think people do that, they do it consciously or subconsciously. They save, they accumulate well, they get to a place where maybe they feel comfortable. You know, most of our millionaire clients still think they're thousandaires.
Right.
They plan like they're thousandaires. They live like they're a thousandaire. They've never made that bridge that they have saved so that someday they would be in a different place. And today is someday.
Right.
But they don't have permission to proceed. So they need.
Well, and that's the psychology we've got to get into next. And the reality of sitting down and looking at the numbers and figuring out what is that prudent spend about. That's important because how many times do we see where people's plan is to bear down and earn more? And then I'll feel okay about it. And you don't, because that's not how this works.
Right. I think we put unnecessary burden on ourselves. One of the things that occurred along the way was, when we went from a defined benefit society, where if you work really hard, stayed out of trouble, stayed with the same company for your entire life, they would give you a paycheck called a pension every month.
Right.
And when the actuaries and accountants got together and realized people weren't dying soon enough for that to work, and the jobs were being shipped overseas, perhaps, then the companies made a shift and they said, well, what we'll do is we'll give them a defined contribution plan. And so that encouraged people to take money out of their paycheck, and the company would match it, and they would accumulate and save, and they'd watch those balances go up. And that's been their norm.
Yeah.
Well, today, a lot of our clients find out that they've accumulated really well, but they don't know how to take the money out. They don't understand the rules, or they don't feel comfortable, and they don't have, I guess, I call it permission. Like they need somebody to say, you did that, so when you get to this phase of life, you could live the kind of life that you wanted.
Yeah.
Second half of life. And I absolutely love helping people realize how successful they've been and what that could do for them and their family and the things that are most important to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So gate 1, those guardrails, what's the appropriate amount? Gate 2, we've given permission. There's still a failure to launch sometimes. What's the psyche behind the terrible spender even after those first 2 things have happened?
So I can think of a few different things, right? The one is to test the waters.
Yeah.
Obviously, one thing that we would recommend as an investment firm that focuses on this phase of life, the retirement market, is to run appropriate analysis like you would on anything else.
Yeah.
So if you are this kind of an investor with this kind of risk tolerance and your portfolio is designed in this fashion, if you stress test that, like you would do other things, what would that portfolio produce? What would that look like down the road? And I think people don't do that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, this is kind of taboo, but there are a lot of firms out there that really encourage their advisors to keep their clients from spending money. And it's almost like, if they're being paid to manage money, they don't want you to take money away from them. They don't want you to start spending it.
Right.
They'll sometimes have you turn Social Security on the wrong time
Yeah.
or do without. And if you already have built within you a natural guard against spending money, they could exasperate that for you. They could encourage you. You think that they're being sound financial advisors because they're helping you continue to be frugal when that's not the phase of life that you're at anymore.
Right.
Let me give you an analogy. How many times have we worked with somebody who's downsizing, right sizing, or moving, and when they meet with the realtor before they sell the home, they start fixing things up and making the nest better. And then before they sell, they go, you know what? I kind of like the place now.
Sure.
I almost don't want to sell it.
It happens. Yes. So often.
One thing that I have encouraged people to do is make their home their nest.
Yeah.
Don't wait for the next home to be that. If you love where you are and it accommodates the phase of life you're at, and for a while, then why don't we make that the best home for you? Why don't we spend a little bit of money upgrading your home, making your home better for you, for your lifestyle, for your living, rather than someday, I'm going to get the porch. Someday I'm going to, do the windows or whatever it might be.
Right. No, and I get all of that, and I'm with you, but there's still a halt in there. Like when we were talking about how we were going to open the show, we talked about the client, which they probably know who they are, and there's more than one. They come in, and when we do the review and we talk about these are how things are going, they come in almost looking for an attaboy when they tell us where the thermostat is set, and we're like, that doesn't sound comfortable at all. Right. And this is in a multi-million-dollar home.
Right. It's just a peculiar part of the psychology of saving and investing and aging. And one thing, a lot of times people didn't realize that they were going to have assets that they have.
Yeah.
So they still feel like thousandaires, as I've said before.
Yeah.
So one of them that I've found useful is to test things. And I've done this with a number of clients. So if I've got a client and their net worth allows them and their investment net worth allows them to, let's say, for example, they could take out, believe it or not, another $5,000 or $10,000 a month, and they're not going to run out of money with reasonable probability stress test.
Right.
And they feel like, if I told them that their portfolio would allow them to take $5,000 to $10,000 more out of it than what they're taking right now, I take, as an advisor, a risk that they'll think I'm not being prudent, that I'm some kind of spendthrift, or I'm trying to get them to run out of money. So it's got to be done logically.
Does that dial into that psyche? Like you've called it before, the anxiety, or you've even mentioned the guilt factor of spending.
Absolutely. I think that there's an element that we use to protect ourselves, so we live below our means to get to a place that we're at right now. But nobody really spent much time talking to us about a spending plan. It was always a savings plan. The other thing is, if you look at the industry, there's a section within our industry that are primarily selling products. And what they'll do is they'll take a product like an annuity and they'll use that psychology that people have, and they'll try to show them how they can convert that to an unrealistic spending amount. But what the trade-off there that a lot of people don't understand is they're likely leaving their heirs with no money. Well, most of my clients, the clients I work with, if I really understand them well, they want to be able to really enjoy the retirement years. So they need to know, like, what can I take out with reasonable probability that I'll never run out of money? But they also, many of them, either want to leave money to their children or grandchildren or charitable organization, something that matters to them. And I think for most of our clients, they can have their cake and eat it too, but it won't happen by accident. There's not a default that occurs. It takes a plan. And as we've heard in previous episodes, take the trip. And one of them might be, if you're in a situation in life where flying, not an economy anymore makes a lot of sense. And by the way, I am so guilty of doing this kind of stuff myself. I mean, I have spent an hour looking for a better deal on airline tickets and saved $50. I mean, I know in my mind how ridiculous that might seem, but that's a pattern that gets you to a place. What we need now is a great spending plan, a plan that allows you to know what your capacity is. If you want to take a trip, let's figure out how to do it. You want to add a deck onto the house, you want to do this, you want to readjust your home, you want to move, you want to do something. Let's help you do that rather than not do it out of fear or lack of confidence.
Right. Right. No, I think that's great. So identify, is it an anxiety? Is it guilt? I would even go as far as to say that for some of our clients, it is like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
There is sometimes a pride that comes from, and again, for some of those people, I'm like what you're talking about was searching for the flight deals.
Yeah.
Just use your powers for good, level up. There's good deals to be had in first class.
There is an element of this, like you said, that badge of honor. One of them that we've learned over the years is like people like say, I only sleep 5 hours. Like it's a good thing when all the science says it's not a good thing. Now I know some people can't do that, but also pushing yourself into things that are unhealthy.
Yeah.
Now, I want to say that we're talking about a spending plan, helping people really recognize what quality of life they can have. They don't have to do it. They need permission to do it.
Yeah.
They need to know that they could do it. And sometimes that might be helping out a child, helping a child maybe buy a home or sending a grandchild through college or something like that they don't know that they could do.
Yeah.
And it is our responsibility for clients that allow us to do it is to show them where those guardrails are that you're talking about. But let's not default be, I'm still saving and I'm not going to enjoy my life. If you need a new car, let's get you a great deal on a car. Maybe it's a 2-year-old car. Maybe it's a great deal, but let's not wait till the wheels fall off because we're going to save a few $1,000s down the road that we're going to leave. And this is something you and I talked about before. How often we see the parents of a certain generation live well below their means, never really enjoy the fruit of all their hard work, and then they leave it to their children, and their children have no problem spending all the money.
There's no anxiety. There's no guilt. There is a spending plan. It's fast.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite, I love when you work with clients and you try to shake things up, because if we are dealing with a psychological matter, we fall into those trenches. We had a client who's no longer with us, but the challenge in those 10 days, she had an amazing green thumb and she loved to garden and she kept house.
Yeah.
And for years, the corners were clean, the base bars were clean. And it got to the point where she wasn't able to do that anymore. And you said, listen, you have lived overly frugal for years. And I want you to do me a favor because you can't afford it. I want you to hire somebody to cut the grass. Now, you're still going to take care of the flowers because that brings you joy, but just hire somebody to take care of the grass, the leaves, the sidewalk. And I want you to hire somebody to do the deep clean on the house. Now, you're still going to fluff the pillows and do the things. I want you to do this for me for 6 months, and I want you to see if you die. And it shook her, but then all of a sudden the conversation shifted, and I think it takes a partner or it takes someone to work with it. So,
well, I think it really takes the right kind of coach and guide to help people make smart decisions with their money, not ridiculous. We're not trying to get people to run out of money. We're not trying to make them feel good about spending.
Right.
I spend a fair amount of my time helping clients stop doing things that are not financially sound. I've got clients who are spending too much money, and I'll take the risk of not making them happy or even being fired by saying, you will run out of money if you keep doing this. So I don't think it's one-sided, but I have found that my most successful clients, it tends to be disproportionate that they don't feel comfortable. Even if they're spending the money, they don't feel comfortable without some guidance and coaching and the right kind of financial planning tools and guide that could give you those parameters and put together a plan. That plan could include a future car purchase plan, a vacation strategy, so that you, built into the plan has that, the ability to help with college education for grandchildren or whatever. Let's put it all down. What are all the things we want to do? We do this thing called the game board, right? And we set some priorities, and it is miraculous how it will redirect some things. But then our job as good stewards of financial planning is to help people put together that reasonable plan and let them know they're going to be okay, that they're not going to run out of money. And again, nothing is perfect, but even experimenting. Again, real quick, I had a chance to work with a couple, and they had no idea how much more money that they could be spending. And they were doing some things. You're talking about the thermostat. It was related to inability to do certain things because of their economics. They were trying to live on Social Security and their pension, and they had tons of money that they were not using.
Yeah.
And I had them try for 3 months or 6 months. It might have been 6 months, taking this extra amount of money out of their portfolio and see how that worked. And when I met with them and reviewed the notes from the previous meeting, and I asked them how that went, I remember the wife started crying. And I don't know how I felt about it. I felt like maybe I'd done something wrong because I really encouraged them not to wait to do some of the things they're doing. And the husband was, trying to console her in that. And he said, no, it's you didn't make her upset. She just can't believe what the things we were able to do with the extra money. And we didn't know we could do that. And he thanked me. He thanked me for telling them something that was totally in their power, but they didn't have that permission. And I realized that our industry, the industry of financial planning, is great at helping people accumulate, reduce their tax liability, and all that kind of stuff, but we're not great at helping people understand the financial freedom that all that hard work did.
Yeah. I don't know about you. I prefer meeting with healthy, tan, happy people. Yeah. And again, we want to do a good job. We want to help people be prudent. We want to help, grow assets. But
no, and the pride that I see in some people who have been able to, help a child change careers, help a child buy a home, help a grandchild go to college or whatever it might be, and recognize that they were able to do that because of all that, good habits they had along the way.
Yeah.
So they've been great to others, but I want them to love their retirement. That's one of my themes for the next decade of my life. I want to help people love their retirement. Yeah. I don't want them to just be glad they're retired and all that, but let's go do some stuff. Let's enjoy this phase of life. We did all this work to get here, and the client did all the work. We didn't do the work.
Right.
We get a lot of credit sometimes. I have a client, we wouldn't be here without you. I said, oh yeah, you would. Yeah. You'd be somewhere, because most of what you've got and accumulated right now, you did that by your own discipline and habits. That's why you sought out a coach like us.
Right.
Our job is help you optimize that, make the most of it. And that really gives me great joy.
Yeah. It makes me feel like when my dad or my father-in-law comes open and opens the toolbox, he goes, well, that's what we're going to use.
Yeah.
And I already had it. We didn't have to run to Home Depot. We already had the tool. And I'm like, oh yeah, and this. And yeah, it's being aware of the tools that you've got and then knowing how to operate them. It's so true. Hey, listen, for you, if you would find yourself in that place that there is the psyche that sabotages that spending plan, and you've got some specific questions you'd like to get in front of us, we'd encourage you to email us at connect@yourretirementcoach.com. But I would say, if you find yourself in these places, take the steps that we talked about today. Identify what you have, work with a professional to figure out what is an appropriate amount of spending and income, and come up with that long-term plan so that you can then figure out, now that I know, now that I'm aware, and now that I've been granted permission, where am I tripping up? And then attack the psychology and get somebody to help shake you up out of it, or do those incremental steps. Put a toe in the water. Like Randy said, take a first-class seat on an airplane, see if you die. It's something that we all need to do because we all want to live that enjoyable retirement.
We're going to get sued by the airline.
We're absolutely going to get sued. Thank you so much for sitting with us today. Thanks for sharing this. I know for many, many retirees, this is the hang up.
Yeah.
This is the hang up. All right. If you enjoyed the show, we want to encourage you to share with others that you know are also dealing with the same topics, the same things that you are. We always would like for you to like and subscribe as well.
And, one thing I would add to that, Aaron, if you don't mind, is if you're pretty close to retirement right now and you don't know, what that next step looks like, how to retire, what you can live. A great time to do it is, first, if you're already in retirement, we could help you.
Yeah.
But if you're approaching retirement and you want a game plan to really know those numbers, if we could meet with somebody, 2 to 5 years before retirement, put together a plan so that when it happens, it doesn't feel so foreign. We've already got a game plan. I really encourage those people to reach out as well and get some guidance.
That's so true. That's so great. Thanks again for being with us today. Thank you for showing up. We hope that you stay coachable.
We hope you enjoyed today's show, but you may have questions for our coaches, and they can be emailed at connect@yourretirementcoach.com. If you know someone that needs to hear this episode, we encourage you to share it. As a reminder, the content of this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as advice. On behalf of our coaches, we want to thank you for listening and for being coachable.
Investment advice offered through Merit Financial Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor.